What's up, builders? This is Raise the Bar Radio, where we talk about building wealth, raising capital, and all in all, raising the bar in your business and your life. This is the No BS podcast for capital raisers, investors, and entrepreneurs who are serious about scaling their business and living life on their own terms. I'm Seth Bradley, securities attorney, real estate investor, and entrepreneur, bringing you world-class strategies from the best in the game. If you're ready to raise more capital, close bigger deals, build a better you, and create true financial freedom, you're in the right place. Let's go. Welcome to Raise the Bar, elevated conversations around entrepreneurship, capital raising, and real estate. I'm Seth Bradley, securities attorney and real estate entrepreneur. Today on Raise the Bar, we've got Sam Primm, who turned Faster Freedom into one of the most explosive real estate education brands in the country. He owns hundreds of rental units, runs multiple seven-figure businesses, and teaches investors how to build real wealth without relying on banks or W-2s. Sam's blueprint has changed thousands of lives. Sam, stoked to have you on the show, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Quite the intro. I got to live up to that now. You should have kind of brought the bar down a little bit, but that's all right.
We're raising it, man. We're raising the bar.
I like it. I like it.
All right, brother, kick things off, man. When a stranger comes up to you on the street and they ask you what you do, what do you tell them?
So I used to say I'm in real estate, and then everybody just assumed that I was a real estate agent. And then I said real estate investor, and everybody assumed that I just invested and flipped houses. But I do a little bit of everything. So now I just say I'm an entrepreneur in the real estate space is kind of what I've landed on now. I'm sure it'll change as I change, but right now I want to get that entrepreneur word out there, then just in the real estate space because we do so many things.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's mysterious, right? That'll kick off some questions there. So I like that. Yeah, most people, I think their initial reaction when you say you're in real estate is, oh, you're a real estate agent or you're a real estate broker or something like that. And then you've got to kind of go down that question line. And I know for myself, I've went through, as entrepreneurs, we go through this, right? Like lots of different identities, lots of different businesses that we're starting and we identify as. And there for a while, I was an attorney to start with, and then I wanted to get totally away from that. So I purposely did not say attorney when someone asked me. I would say real estate investor or what have you. And then now I'm back to, yes, I'm an attorney, but also I'm a real estate investor and entrepreneur, and then we can kind of go from there.
I like it. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, man. For our listeners out there that haven't heard of you, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of your business and what you got going on.
Yeah, for sure. So I started out with pretty normal aspirations. I didn't plan to be an entrepreneur or a real estate investor. I planned to just work for a company for 40 years like my dad did and retire at 65. That was kind of what I was brought up to do. That's what society kind of tells us to do. So that was my path. I graduated college and got a job. A couple years after that, my best friend sent me a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which everyone's heard of. I know, very cliche, right? Now, I wish there was some cool Phoenix uprising in my story, but there's not. I just read that and kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And that best friend Lucas and I decided to invest in real estate with full-time jobs. So in 2014, we started investing, didn't know what we were doing, looked at a ton of properties, was told no from a ton of banks, and finally did our first deal and got up and weren't too scarred, weren't too battered or bruised, so we decided to do it again. And then we wanted to buy one rental a year for 10 years, and that kind of got amplified. And then we just kind of saw the power of doing this, using other people's money and growing and scaling, and we're able to quit our jobs in 2018 and go all in on real estate. And flash forward to today, I have a education company, Faster Freedom, you alluded to. We teach people how to do what I did. I have a flipping company and wholesaling company here in St. Louis. We wholesale and flip about 250 houses a year, called Faster House. Getting the faster name, Faster Freedom, Faster House. And then I have a property management company called Midwest Property Group that manages my 300 doors and $50 million in real estate, but also we manage about 300 units for other people. We're growing that. And then we have a project management company called STL Reno. So we're pretty good at running projects. We're pretty good at managing properties. So we do it for ourselves, but now we've kind of opened up the wings a little bit and do that for other people to create some more revenue. I call it vertical alignment. Not really integration, but kind of growing things that way.
Gotcha. Awesome, man. So tell us about kind of the assets that you started out with, and then where's your business at now today? What are you investing in before versus what you're investing in now?
Yeah, started out with single family rentals. That was the first, dozen or so deals we did on the flip side as well as rental side. Then we got into a 9-unit, a small apartment complex, and have kind of added some smaller apartment complexes along the way. A couple self-storage facilities, a little boutique hotel down in Branson, Missouri. Boutique sounds fancy. It's not. It just means small for my version of it. It's a 20-unit, and we invest in a little bit bigger assets now, the self-storage facilities, the multifamilies, but we still do the single-family game. I love single-family rental properties. I really believe in that asset class. I get it's not quite as scalable, maybe as some of these bigger doors with more commas in them, but we have a machine that wholesales and flips 250 of them a year, so it makes sense that we don't have to do anything besides say, hey, we're going to keep that one and not sell it. We're already going to rehab it. We're already going to buy it. So we pick off, 10 to 20 a year that way. So we're able to kind of get a little bit of the best of both worlds, the quick liquidity of single family rentals and kind of ride hot markets, and then kind of the stability of some larger assets. And when I say larger, our multis are all like 10 to 50 units, so nothing too crazy.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love the diversity there, man. I sometimes I'm in the commercial real estate for the most part, and that's who my clients are. They're buying, large multifamily properties or retail space or whatever it is. But there's something to be said for single family. I mean, that's where I cut my teeth as well. Started house hacking, did the same thing as you, read the Purple Bible, house hacked into a duplex, listened to Bigger Pockets, that typical story. And that's where I really made my wealth to begin with, was just single family houses. And I still invest in single family because I think it's great. Like, it's great. And then you own much larger portion of it than you do, let's say, if you do a syndication or you do a fund or something like that, where you have to share lots of equity, a big portion of the equity with your investors, and you may end up losing some control depending on who your partners are.
No, I fully agree. It's nice to, that whole saying is you'd rather own part of a watermelon than an entire grape. But I 100% agree. The syndication route, that was hot there for a little bit. A lot of people are kind of struggling right now because all these syndicators came to the market and they bought all these properties, the variable rates, a lot of different things going on in the multifamily space right now. But yeah, I agree. I'd rather own me and my partner. So I'd rather own 50% of everything than 5% and get a syndication fee. It's just not quite as exciting to me.
Yeah, how were you able to scale like that? Because that's the biggest thing and the hardest thing to do, right? People start buying single family, maybe they own 100% of those, and then they're like, okay, I'm out of money. How do I get into a bigger property? Maybe I want to buy that 8-unit, that 16-unit, start moving up. Maybe I want to buy a self-storage unit, but I can't afford it like I did when I was house hacking into a duplex or something. Like, how were you able to scale? How were you able to put your systems and processes in place to be able to do 250 plus flips a year and pick off the rentals that you want?
Yeah, so ignorance, stupidity, and other people's money. So just going at it and not knowing that's not normal, what things people do. So just kind of going at it and just saying, I don't know any better. But the biggest thing is that other people's money, kind of angle. I know most people are told to fear debt, and borrowing money is not smart, but if you're borrowing it smartly, it can be smart. So the biggest thing for me is being able to, and I think a lot of this podcast about just being able to raise those funds and use other people's money. You can give up equity, you can give up debt, you can just give preferred returns. There's obviously a lot of different ways you can kind of slice that, but yeah, borrowing money is how I was able to do it.
Pardon the interruption, but we don't do ads. Instead, know that if you're raising capital for real estate, my law firm, Raise Law, is here to give you the expert legal guidance you need to raise capital compliantly and structure and close your deal. And if you're looking for a done-for-you fund-to-fund solution, TribeVest is the industry's only all-in-one setup and fund administration solution. Visit raise.law and tribevest.com to learn more. Gotcha. And right now, what's your primary source of financing? Do you have a big credit facility, or how are you able to finance all these projects at once?
Private lenders for the most part.
Okay.
We have a stable of 15 to 20 private lenders. We use their money in and out quickly, kind of keep it busy. We have a decent amount of credit at some small local banks that we've done business with that allow us to operate and use those funds pretty regularly. But for the most part, again, those 250 houses, we'll probably wholesale 150 to 200 of them. So we close on some of those, but a lot of just don't need any funds type of transactions to kind of feed the beast least as we're growing and scaling and have overhead and all the things. So in general, private lenders, I would say 80, maybe 75%, maybe 20%, lines of credit at banks, and maybe 5% occasionally we'll use a hard money lender. We have a couple local ones that we use that we have pretty good relationships with if we got to squeeze something out that our funds are kind of scattered.
Yeah. How about on the equity side? Are you raising capital from investors or have a fund or anything like that? Or what are you doing on the equity side? Are you keeping it all in-house?
We're keeping all in-house, yeah. So we haven't raised a fund yet. I think I can. I know a lot of people tell me to raise a fund to buy bigger units, to raise a fund to even lend out. We're just with the social media following I've been able to garner. I think that wouldn't be a huge lift if it was structured obviously the right way and done with all the T's and I's dotted and crossed. But yeah, for the most part, we're able to, our apartment complexes, we borrow 20% down from a private lender, we get long-term debt from a bank, and then over the next couple of years we're value adding through cash flow or more money raised, and then refinance out and pay the private lender back, and sometimes we give up equity in the short term, sometimes it's just preferred interest, so it really depends on the deal. It just allows us to be flexible with that private lending funds and those relationships we've built through the simple flips and the simple BRRRR deals. So it's just an extended BRRRRs, but with another comma usually.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I think at this point with your massive social media following and the people, the community you've built, you'd be able to put a fund together pretty easily, because I think you've won the confidence of the people around you. You'd be able to raise some capital, and you'd be able to control, have a little bit more control over that capital stack and that debt.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if I know anybody that can help me do that in the future. Maybe.
I think you got somebody right here, man.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me a little bit about the social media game, man. Like, that's how I found you, right? Like, there for a while, and you know how you show up in people's feeds, and then you go away, and then you come back, and that sort of thing. But there for a while, and you still are, because you're having you on the show and all that. But you're everywhere. I mean, you put out tons of great content across lots of different platforms. Was that intentional? Did you really say to yourself, like, okay, I've got this real estate business, now I want to use social media to scale? Or was it kind of backwards, like the other way around? Or did you do it at the same time? Like, what was your mindset there?
Yeah, so originally it all started with in like 2019, 2020 time frame. We spoke at a local meetup, me and Lucas, my business partner, and it was about how we went from 0 to 100 doors in 5 years. And it blew everybody's mind because we actually did it and explained why, and we're just normal dudes, and that's a lot of doors to have. And, I thought 10 was a lot, and it is, but 100's a really lot. So that kind of like sparked our interest. And then I started, having people DM me on my personal Facebook page and just ask me a ton of questions, high school friends, college buddies, whatever, right? That nobody knew we were doing that. So then we started posting a little bit, and that just garnered a lot of attention because we actually did it, and we didn't like talk about doing it, right? We had actual examples. So I was like, all right, let's create a separate thing for this. So my original plan, honestly, Seth, was just to have a YouTube channel. And every YouTube video make a couple $100 a month. It was like a rental, right? Each YouTube was going to be a rental and just kind of live in perpetuity and just pay me. And I'm not very good at YouTube, or I wasn't. So I created like a TikTok and an Instagram to push people to YouTube. And I have a little bit more of a knack for that short form content, as you can see by me going down rabbit holes and rambling on this long form stuff. So I just got more of a niche there. And then there's also the dopamine hit of you can get way more views way faster. They're not as valuable. I'd rather have 10,000 YouTube views than 100,000 Instagram views because of the long form concept of it. But anyways, it just kind of all snowballed from there. And then I had people asking me, hey, can you teach me? I'll pay you to teach me because I believe you more than all of these other gurus that are pushing something. So then I created a mentorship, and then it made more sense to, hey, maybe I should spend more time focusing on social media. It's a lead magnet and a lead funnel to a new revenue source for me, my community, and my mentorship. So that's when I kind of started to take it seriously, and kind of ironically, fast forward to today, I feel like I know more about social media than I do about real estate, and I feel like my social media following is more rare and harder than my real estate. 50 million real estate's a lot. I understand that, but a lot of people do that. It's pretty hard to grow a 4 million social media following, and I get 20 to 30 million views a month across all platforms. I feel like that's harder coming from nothing. Most people that are big on social media, they were on a TV show. boom. So then they got that brand to bring over to Instagram, or they're an athlete or a musician, right? Or an actor or an actress. So to just grow from nothing, I think it's a little bit harder and rarer. So that's kind of the conclusion I came to about a year ago. So now I kind of try to help teach people social media too, because it's something that I've done at a pretty high level.
Totally, totally. And once you build that personal brand, right, like you can use that a lot of different ways. I mean, I'm sure that you found a lot of your lenders and partners and your deals, obviously through your community and all those sorts of things. I mean, that all just expands by having this personal brand, by having this reach, by getting those views. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that, how it's kind of expanded your other businesses, not necessarily maybe the coaching and the community.
Yeah, for sure. So I get deals sent. So we only buy here in St. Louis, so we get deals sent my way from that, and then but I get deals sent all the time from other markets, and I just hand those off to my students. I don't know if it's a deal or not, but I have 2,200 students in all 50 states and all markets, so I'm able to hand that off to them, which is kind of nice. I haven't used it for the fundraising thing. I think I could. And then another thing is I have it's called Faster Freedom Capital. It's it's not a broker. I think it's probably illegal word to use. It's like a liaison. So I have a few different lenders that I've dealt with on the hard money side and the long-term side. And I'm able to just post about something, and then excuse me, hold on.
No worries.
Got a couple sick kids at home, so got the tickle in the throat.
We just had our first, so
congratulations.
Really looking forward to being sick all the time.
Yeah, I got a 9, a 3, and a month and a half old. So got the.
There you go.
I think you got a new one too.
Yep. 6 weeks.
All right. Through that turbulence is what we'll call that. So the cool thing with that Fast Freedom Capital is I have these lenders, these funds, these private offices that I've been able to develop relationships with, that I, under the Faster Freedom Capital brand, just bring them in, and then I just hand them off to them. And I don't have to do anything. I don't pretend it's not my money. It's just like, here's my lenders that I use. And then I get a little piece of the origination fee on that. And we're set to do about $15 million in loans this month. It's just, and over half of those come from my following and not from my community. Obviously, my community gets access to that. But anyways, that's one example of something that's turning into some pretty good, legitimately passive. Everybody uses the words passive income, but it's not passive, right? Legitimately, they come in, fill an application, we hand them to the 2 or 3 lenders, and they underwrite. They do everything. It's completely hands off to me. So that's been a cool thing that's come from the following. And I think, like you said, you grow that like, know, and trust. You just can, with integrity and with actual deliverables, just point those eyeballs in a direction to monetize them, and obviously help them, then monetize them. But it's been a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, and what you're talking about could easily change into what we're seeing a lot nowadays, which are debt funds. We're seeing tons of private debt funds. That's kind of what we're seeing, because as you mentioned, the multifamily market has slowed down. A lot of those syndications got in trouble, with the adjustable rates and such, and seeing lots of debt funds. So lots of people are raising capital into a debt fund, and then they're loaning out to fix and flippers and wholesalers and these short-term loans that are high interest. And then really, you're just, from your investors, you're gonna give them a certain percentage preferred return, and then you, as the capital raiser, are going to collect kind of that delta between what you loan it out with and what you give to your investors. So it's a great little system right now that's going on. You're seeing a ton of that, and investors love it because they're getting cash flow immediately, as opposed to some of these bigger commercial syndications and funds. You're not seeing any cash flow. They might be great deals here in 5 years. So you invest now and probably little to no cash flow out of the gate, and then maybe later you're going to have a lot of appreciation and interest rates might go down and all those sorts of things. But you're not getting any cash flow. But these debt funds give them immediate cash flow and take a lot of risk off the table.
Yeah, no, I love that plan. That's what I think the next, when I get time and somebody ties me down to do it, I think that is a next level for us, rather than having a middle fund in between, and we just get a little bit. We can kind of take it. Obviously, you need some support, some staff, some underwriting, and all those things. But being able to take that in-house and fully control that, I think, would be another another division of Faster Freedom, another division of my companies. But I think there's be a lot more money to be made.
Yeah, totally. And I'm chief legal officer for a company called TribeVest, and we put together fund-to-funds and SPVs, and we put 250 together in the last, like, I think 16 months. So we see a lot of the market, and those debt funds are huge. And what we see from capital raisers, lots of people can't raise capital. Lots of people think they can raise capital. There's a lot of gurus out there that tell you it's easy, and they give you kind of some email sequences and some things to say and on social media posts, and there's like, it's easy. It's not. It's actually really hard to raise capital. But the number one thing that provides success, or that predicts success for capital raisers, especially people that are kind of new to the game, is your network. If you have a built-in network, whether it's you with your social media following, which it's massive, right? You have that built-in trust with your audience already, or it's just a doctor or a dentist that has 50 other doctors and dentists that are also wealthy and can invest with them, and they already have that built-in trust too. Those are the people that are really successful right out of the gate raising capital, as opposed to the people that maybe go through a program or something like that, and they just kind of know what to say, when to say it, and post on social media occasionally and aren't consistent, and they think they can just put in this little process and they're going to have success. It's just really difficult right now, especially with the way that investors are a little bit more skeptical nowadays as well.
Yeah, I think we're in a trust recession just in general. The general public is not as trusting as what they see on their phone, whether it's through raising capital, through investing in a coaching program. It's somewhat understandable, but yeah, it's a little bit tougher game than it was a couple years ago, as I'm sure you know. So yeah, that is definitely something we can potentially chat with offline about, because yeah, I think there's a pretty big revenue source there for me, and I couldn't do one story and raise capital, but I think if I put together somewhat of a content plan and focused on it, you could raise a decent amount of money in a relatively quick period of time.
Totally. And I don't want to talk trash on coaching and mentoring and things like that, because that is invaluable. I am totally in the boat of paying for help, paying someone for their expertise to speed up your process, to learn whatever game you're trying to learn. 100%. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that sort of stuff, and I love it. But don't think that it's going to be easy. Just like any kind of business, any kind of investing, it's not easy. Don't expect to just pay this money to somebody and then boom, you're going to be a multimillionaire. It takes work, it takes dedication. You've got to learn. You've got to know your deals. You've got to put the work in, and you just have to know that going in. It's not a magic pill.
Yeah, for sure. Simple and easy are different. I get that a lot because I get the same thing from people, and I say, yes, I understand that I make it sound simple, and I can hopefully help you make it easier, but it's still going to be a lot of hard work. We're talking about wealth here, not widgets, and that comes with hard work and trial and effort and error and failures and adjustments and levers to pull. So yeah, it definitely is not easy.
I love that. Simple but not easy.
Yeah.
I'm a little curious about your branding. Tell me about that. Do you have a philosophy around speed? Because I do like to talk about speed a lot and like taking action, keeping in motion and keeping momentum. Do you have a philosophy around speed? Is that where the kind of the faster freedom and faster brand comes from?
Yeah, kind of. I think it's just that sense of urgency. I think most people that I know, that are successful, they have that sense of urgency. You can go as far as like if you're still like your kind of like knees are shaking just because you always feel like you need to be doing something. I don't know if that's a good thing, but in general, yeah, those people that are always kind of feel like they have to be active tend to be the more successful people. And honestly, the faster came from Faster House. That was just our company that our public facing brand. We're the biggest home buyer in St. Louis, the distressed home buyer, the wee ugly house type of stuff. We want you to get in and make this deal fast and quick and easy for you. And that kind of just led over to the faster freedom and helping you again get there quicker. Because I think that, you can create a decent amount of wealth relatively quickly if you stick to this. And I hate the people working until they're 65, 70 years old, retiring when they're too old to enjoy it, but also living frugally for 40 years, for 50 years, right? There's just this whole societal save your money, put it away, 401k, Wall Street's going to scrape off the top. You'll eventually maybe get there. Hope the market's good when you're there. Put more money aside, sacrifice now to maybe enjoy it later, and who knows how long you got on this earth. So yeah, just the speeding up of the process and doing things quicker just allows for more time to enjoy things.
Yeah, for sure. Life goes by pretty quickly, so you've got to take advantage of all the time you got here. expanding on that, what are some of like the fundamental principles that you teach your mentees when they join Faster Freedom? I mean, you've done a lot of different things, right? You talked about commercial assets, you talked about fix and flips and wholesales and long-term rentals. Like a lot of, I'm not calling you a guru, but a lot of gurus, you'll see that they only push one thing, right?
Yeah.
Like they push one thing. It's like you have to do self-storage syndications. You have to do single-family houses in Dallas, Texas. Like it's always like one specific thing. It's because that's all they know. But you have a much broader sense of the market and a much broader way to make money in different ways. So that's what I love about you, is that you're not just like talking about one thing. It's like, here's a lot of different things in real estate and business that you can make money on. But what is it that you kind of focus on once someone comes to you and says, Sam, teach me how to free me from my W-2. I want it in your program. Where do we start?
That's a perfect tee up. I love that, because I started out with it as it was like a BRRRR course. The BRRRR method was easy. It was hot. Everybody was doing it. It was the sub 2, 4 years ago that everybody talks about now. So that's what it was originally. And if somebody wanted to wholesale or fix and flip, I would say just do the B of the BRRRRs and the R of the rehab, right? So that's what it started. But after a year or two inside of that, I realized that I was doing a disservice to the people that were inside my community, because real estate allows you to do so many different things. No matter what your position, no matter what your credit score, no matter what your income, there is an option for you. You don't have ability for all options if your financial or your credit score is lower, but there's some things you can do. So I kind of simplified things to what I call like a customized holistic approach. So we see what their goals are. If your goal is to quit your job, you're not going to do that buying single family rentals. If you're, we got to get some active income, some flip, some wholesales. And if you like your job, you just want to get some breathing room and retire at 55, let's start buying rentals. So we kind of have a specific conversation with them. But my whole philosophy is two things. We focus on finding distressed properties, and we focus on raising capital. If you can do those two things, then you are able to be much more flexible. You can go down many different exit strategies and do them both, because maybe you're better at finding deals. Well, if you find deals, money tends to follow if you have a deal on a platter for a lender. And if you're able to raise capital and you have a private lender that gives you a $250,000 like credit line, it's easier to buy properties if you have a legitimately all cash, no contingency offer. So our philosophy is find the deals, find the money, and then whatever works best for you. And as far as asset class goes, I really push people to start with single families. It's just so much more liquid. If you get in trouble, you can sell it to homeowners and investors. You buy a 12 unit, the people that want to buy that is very, very small as far as only investors and only ones looking in that space. So single families, even if you want to get into multifamilies, I think it makes sense to knock 5 off the top. Single families, you're going to understand investors, you're going to understand tenants, you're going to have banking relationships built, lender relationships built, contract relationships built, maintenance relationships built, property manager. You're just kind of, not the preseason, right? But you're learning the process and kind of greasing everything, so that if you do want to jump into that 20 unit, it's just so much easier. And it's really tough to go from not doing anything to having a bank even say yes to a 20 unit loan. So that's kind of the philosophy, is single families to start, and then like whatever you need, we're going to help you get the deal and the money for it, or do our best to do that.
Yeah, I agree. People ask me what's the easiest way to start. I tell them house hack into something, right?
Yep.
Maybe even up to a 4 unit, because you can get that financed as owner occupied. But so house hacking or duplex is you put a little bit of money down and that's it, and you don't have to worry about putting 10% down, 20% down, 25% down. You can get in pretty cheap. And if you want to jump straight to raising capital, I do tend to ask, like, what's your network look like? Like, do you have family and friends that would want to invest? Are they wealthy? Are you wealthy? That means a lot. Like, I don't necessarily want to put it all on that, but it means a lot. Like, what does your network look like? Do you really think that you'll be able to raise $500,000 or $1 million? And then when you do that, we're not necessarily going to be the operator on that first deal. Like, let's partner with an operator who knows what they're doing, who knows how to run an apartment complex or a self-storage facility or something like that.
Yep, 100% agree. Just getting in there, just stick to the basics, and then you can do it without a network, but it's just going to be harder. We're gonna have to switch our strategy up. We're gonna have to, maybe try to wholesale or go the hard money route while we're building up our network. So there's always a path. We just need to, like you said, kind of know the person, and so we can help them with the best path.
Totally, totally. It just takes a little bit more time because you do have to build that network up one way or another. Maybe you launch a podcast, maybe you do something. You got to get in front of people, whether that's networking in person, getting on a podcast, starting a podcast. Those social media posts, sure, but that's going to take some time too. You got to post consistently for a really, really long time. It's not, hey, I'm going to put up a few social media posts for the next 2 weeks and I'm going to blow up like Sam. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you have to know what you're doing too.
Yeah, 100%.
Sam, in a parallel universe where you weren't CEO of Faster Freedom, tell me about a different version of you. And let me explain that a little bit. There's usually like a few pivotal moments in our lives. For me, I went to med school for a little bit, and then I dropped out about a year and a half in, and ended up going to law school. That's a big change. I could have been a doctor. That would have been a totally different life. Not better, not worse, but different. Do you have one of those moments in your life, and what does that look like?
Well, I think one easy one would be, quitting my job. I made good money at my job. I was a sales manager for a Caterpillar dealer selling Caterpillar construction equipment, made $250,000 a year here in St. Louis, Missouri. It's a lot of money anywhere, but definitely, affordable market like St. Louis. So I had I had, more growth within that company and could have really been, one of those like corporate type CEOs in that company. I was the youngest, sales manager in the company, and I had a path there that was maybe a little more tied to the system or tied to the corporate type lifestyle. So that's one for sure. And another, how I look at it is, I'm not like your typical marketing sales guy, but like I just enjoy pushing myself and I'm competitive and I want to drive. Like I feel like I could get enjoyment out of being a CPA or being like a doctor or whatever. I really enjoy the process of things, which I think is, I wouldn't maybe say unique, but not everybody enjoys the process. So that's one of my strengths, I think, is enjoying the process and struggle and grind and adjustment and pivots and failing and getting up and all of those. So it really provides a lot of possibility for me. And in a different world, something I think would have been more fun if I would have taken sports a little more seriously. I was always pretty good athlete growing up, and I didn't even start playing football till freshman year of high school. And by the time I was a senior, I was being recruited by colleges, and I played quarterback, and I was being recruited for basketball too. And I just didn't want to play sports in college, so I turned down any scholarship offers, and I just went to college to have fun, hang out with my friends, and get decent grades and get a degree. So I'm not one of those like live in the glory days, because I was starter and played and all those things, but I just never even thought the possibility of taking it to the collegiate level or beyond. I think I had the work ethic and potential skill set to be molded into something that could have been a little bit different of a path going down that athletic path. Not that I would have been a professional quarterback or anything like that, but it could have gone a lot of different places. I had the ability to do more. I just, for whatever reason, didn't want to. Just wanted to go to school and have fun.
Yeah. Same thing. I went to school and had fun, man. But what do you think about the role of sports, man? I always say, like, people that I hire, if they have a background as an athlete, I just feel like that's like a one-up for me. They just seem to understand kind of discipline and hard work and things like that a little bit better than others. Do you have a perspective on that?
Yeah, for sure. I think just playing competitive sports, A, just shows you're competitive, and B, you just learn so much playing sports. You don't win every game, you lose. You have to work with a team. You're relying on other people no matter what sport you play, pretty much. Even like the single sports like golf or tennis, there's still there's a team concept of putting your scores together and winning as a team. So especially the team sports, though, it teaches you so much. I think it just made me think of like Enterprise is one of the bigger companies, Enterprise Rent-A-Car out of St. Louis. They're local here in St. Louis. And I remember their ads, they used to do ads for collegiate athletes to hire. Like their entire advertising campaign back in the early 2000s was people that played sports and all these NCAA athletes, and then getting a job at Enterprise. So that was their whole freaking marketing campaign, was around hiring athletes. So I think that it's definitely not that you can't be successful if you're not an athlete, but it just shows me, especially if you played at a competitive level, that you like competition and you like collaboration, which is a lot of what business is.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. What's one message you want our listeners to walk away with that can help raise the bar for them?
The biggest message I like getting across to people is the fact that failure is a part of the process. Most people avoid failure, and they're literally avoiding success. Like, failure is a part of the success process. There's learning, there's growing, then there's failing, then there's getting up, and then there's succeeding, then there's failing again. So if you avoid if you avoid failure, you are literally avoiding success. There's no, I think, more a blunt way to put it. So if you're one of those people that is always trying to not fail, you're just not going to win, and you're not going to be successful. So I think just understanding failure is part of the process, having the expectation that you're going to fail, because the biggest thing that knocks people down is when they get blindsided by something, right? Get sucker punched by it. If you know it's coming, it's still going to hurt, but you're able to get up quicker. So I think my message for most people would be just be okay with failure, know what's going to happen, and learn from it. And that's the quickest path to success, as opposed to taking the long non-failure route.
Great message, man. Sam, it's been awesome having you on. Where can our listeners find out more about you?
You said it, I'm on most platforms. So any social media platform you're on, just search for Sam or Faster Freedom or Sam Faster Freedom. And if you want to actually connect with me like we did, just DM me on Instagram. I got a decent following there, but I'm still in and out of the DMs every single day, and would be glad to chat with anyone.
He's easy to find, folks. Look him up. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for tuning in to Raise the Bar Radio. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Keep pushing, keep building, and keep raising the bar. Until next time, enjoy the journey.